When I came home that evening, I didn't expect to find my boyfriend in the arms of my roommate on our couch. But what I did to them afterwards surpassed their wildest nightmares. My name is Linda, and I want to share a story about how betrayal turned me into a master of revenge. It all began on an ordinary Thursday in October when I was living in a small apartment in Portland, Oregon. I shared the place with Kate, a girl I considered a friend. We met through a Craigslist ad 6 months earlier, and at first everything was great. Kate seemed like a sweet, quiet grad student studying psychology. Red hair, freckles, always buried in books. The complete opposite of me. I worked at a marketing agency, loved loud parties and bright colors. My boyfriend Jake and I had been together for 8 months. He was a programmer at a small startup, tall with dark hair and those gray eyes I used to get lost in. Jake often came over to our place, and I thought Kate just tolerated him. She always seemed a bit reserved when he was around. Now I realize I mistook her shyness for something else entirely. That fateful Thursday, I was supposed to stay late at work until 10, working on a big project with a tight deadline. But around 8, our client canceled the meeting and I got to head home early. I was in a great mood, thinking about spending the unexpected free evening with Jake. As I climbed the stairs to our third-floor apartment, I pulled my keys out of my bag. Music was playing inside, something slow and romantic. I smiled, thinking maybe Jake had planned a surprise. He did sweet things like that sometimes. I opened the door quietly, planning to surprise him. Instead, I was the one shocked dot on the couch we'd picked out together at IKEA. Jake and my roommate, Kate, were locked in an embrace. They were kissing, passionately, hungrily, like the world was about to end. Jake's hands were tangled in Kate's red hair, and she was pressed against him like he was the only person on the planet. Time froze. The sound of my keys hitting the floor echoed in the hallway. They broke apart and looked at me, 2 faces filled with guilt and relief. "Linda," Kate started, smoothing her disheveled hair. "We didn't mean for you to find out like this." Jake stood, towering over me. There was no remorse in his gray eyes, only resolve. "Sorry, Lynn," he said, using my nickname like he still had the right. "But we needed to talk. We fell in love." Fell in love. That hit harder than if he just said he cheated. Falling in love meant it wasn't a moment of weakness or a mistake. It was a choice. Their choice. "How long?" I managed, surprised at how calm my voice sounded. Kate and Jake exchanged a glance. In that look, I saw an intimacy I recognized, the kind I once shared with Jake. "About a month," Kate said. "Linda, I know this is awful, but we didn't want to hurt you. We tried to fight these feelings, but what?" My voice turned cold. "You couldn't resist. How noble of you." Jake took a step toward me. "Don't be like that, Lynn. You know things haven't been good between us for a while. We were just going through the motions." Going through the motions? I stared at the man I'd been planning weekends with just a week ago, the man I'd talked about Thanksgiving vacations with. When had it stopped mattering to him? When did he decide our relationship wasn't worth fighting for? "Get out," I said quietly. "Linda, let's talk like adults," Jake began. "Get out!" I screamed, loud enough for the neighbors downstairs to hear. "Now!" Jake looked at Kate, who nodded with understanding. Another intimate glance, another silent exchange that made my stomach churn. "I'll get my stuff tomorrow," he said, heading for the door. "Don't you dare come back while I'm here," I snapped. After the door closed behind him, I was left alone with Kate. She sat on the couch, nervously twisting the hem of her shirt. My shirt, the one I'd lent her last week. "Linda, I want you to know this wasn't on purpose," she began. Jake and I talked a lot, and we realized we had so much in common. We both love old movies, we share the same views on life, and— "Shut up!" I cut her off. "Just shut up!" I stormed to my room and slammed the door. Sitting on my bed, I finally let the pain hit me. This wasn't just betrayal, it was the destruction of my world. Jake wasn't just a boyfriend, he was part of my future plans. And Kate was the person I shared secrets with, laughed over silly movies with, who comforted me when work got tough. Now they were both gone in one fell swoop. The next few days passed in a haze. I took time off work, claiming family issues. It was true in a way. They had been my family. Jake came to get his stuff on Friday while I was out. Kate texted me to say she made sure he didn't take anything of mine. How thoughtful of her. I started looking for a new apartment. Staying here, seeing their happy faces every day was more than I could bear. By Sunday, I found a small studio across town. Expensive, but I'd do anything to escape this nightmare. On Monday evening, I was packing in my room when I heard their voices in the living room. They weren't even trying to keep it down. "She's being so dramatic," Jake said. "Like she didn't see that things were over between us ages ago." "I feel awful," Kate replied, but there was no real remorse in her voice. "But honestly, I think we did her a favor. Now she can find someone who really appreciates her." Jake laughed. "If she stops being so high maintenance, remember how she got mad when I forgot to call her? Or when I wanted to hang out with friends instead of watching those stupid rom-coms with her?" "Oh my God, yes," Kate agreed. "And those constant talks about the future. When we get married, when we have kids." She was so clingy. My hands clenched into fists. Clingy? For wanting stability? For believing in our relationship? "The funniest thing," Jake went on, "is that she thinks I'm going to miss her. Honestly, I feel free for the first time in months." "Oh, you're so bad," Kate giggled. "But I get what you mean. She could be so intense." Intense is an understatement. Remember that time she freaked out because I didn't notice her haircut? Or when she cried because you forgot about their monthly anniversaries? They laughed over my feelings, my pain, everything that mattered to me. I realized I was just an obstacle to their happiness, an inconvenience they needed to get rid of. In that moment, something inside me broke. Not my heart. It was already shattered. Something deeper, my willingness to be a victim, my tendency to forgive, my belief that people are inherently good. If they wanted to see me as dramatic, I'd give them drama. If they thought I'd just disappear from their lives, they were gravely mistaken. I started planning. Years in marketing had taught me about human psychology. I knew what drove people, what made them act, what triggered their fears and desires. I also knew that the strongest relationships are built on trust, and that once trust is shaken, everything crumbles. My plan was simple but effective. I would plant seeds of doubt between Jake and Kate. Not crudely or obviously, subtly, artfully, so they'd destroy what they built on the ruins of our relationship themselves. First, I studied them. For a week, I observed, listened, analyzed. Jake was naturally paranoid, always suspecting people were using or lying to him. It was one reason our relationship had its tensions. Kate, despite her psychology degree, was deeply insecure, constantly needing validation of her attractiveness and worth. I also discovered Jake didn't know one key fact. Kate had been dating another guy, Marcus, just 2 months ago. He was a classmate, and their relationship supposedly ended because Marcus moved to another state. But I knew the truth. After 2 glasses of wine, Kate had confessed to me that she broke it off because she'd fallen for someone else. Back then, I thought she meant some new guy. Now I knew she meant Jake. This meant their affair started much earlier than a month ago, possibly months before. While I was making plans with Jake, trusting Kate with my secrets, they were already betraying me. That realization only fueled my resolve. My plan had several steps. First, I'd create a document to make Jake doubt Kate's sincerity. Then, I'd leave clues to make Kate suspect Jake wasn't as devoted as he seemed. I started with a letter from Marcus. Using my graphic design skills, I crafted a fake email that looked like Marcus sent it to Kate the previous week. In it, he wrote about missing her, regretting their breakup and hoping she'd change her mind and join him in Denver. Crucially, he mentioned knowing about her temporary fling and being willing to forgive her if she returned to him. The letter matched Marcus's style, slightly pretentious, fond of big words and prone to quoting poetry. I spent an hour studying his social media to ensure every detail was believable. Next comma. I created a fake dating app profile under Jake's name, using old photos he'd posted on Instagram before we dated. The profile said he was looking for something casual, no strings attached, and recently free from a long relationship, ready to have fun. I knew Kate occasionally browsed dating apps out of curiosity, even when in a relationship. The final piece was a diary. I bought a cheap notebook and filled it with entries supposedly written by Jake. In them, he expressed doubts about his relationship with Kate, calling her too clingy and saying he wasn't sure he was ready for another serious relationship so soon. I also included entries about other women he'd supposedly met and how he missed the freedom of single life. The diary was the riskiest part, as Jake never kept one. But I hoped Kate, as a psychology student, would believe people, especially men who don't openly share feelings, might hide such things. On Wednesday morning, while they were both at work, I set my plan in motion. I accidentally left the printed fake email from Marcus on the kitchen table, half hidden under a stack of bills, as if Kate had printed it and forgotten to put it away. Then I went into Kate's bedroom and placed the diary in Jake's desk drawer, the one where he kept important documents. I knew Kate would find it eventually. Women always find what they're looking for, even if they don't know they're looking. The final touch was setting up a push notification from the dating app on Jake's phone. I knew his password. He used the same one for everything. I downloaded the app, created the profile, and timed the notifications to arrive at the worst possible moment. With everything in place, I sat back and waited. The explosion came the Thursday night. I was in my room, supposedly packing, when I heard their voices in the living room. They started quietly, but soon grew louder. "What's this?" Kate asked, the sound of rustling paper in the background. "What's what?" Jake replied, irritation creeping into his voice. "This letter from Marcus. Why is it on our table?" "What letter from Marcus?" "Who's Marcus?" A long, tense pause. "Jake, don't act like you don't know who Marcus is. I told you about him. You told me you dated some guy before me, but why is he writing to you now?" "I don't know. I didn't ask him to write to me. But did you reply to him? Because here he says you told him to wait while you figure out your situation." I never said anything like that. And then how does he know? How does he know you're with someone?" I heard Kate start to cry, but Jake didn't back down. "Kate, I'm serious. If you're still in touch with this guy, just tell me. I don't want to be a placeholder while you make up your mind." "Jake, I swear I don't know where he got that information. Maybe he heard from mutual friends that I'm with someone. Maybe he just guessed? Or maybe you're lying to me." The sound of a slap echoed through the apartment, then silence. "How dare you?" Kate whispered. "How dare you accuse me of lying after what we both did to Linda?" "That's different," Jake said, but I heard uncertainty in his voice. "Linda and I weren't happy for a long time, but you might be using me as a rebound until you go back to your ex. That's insane. I don't want to go back to Marcus. I want to be with you." But the seed of doubt was planted. I could hear it in Jake's voice. The next day brought the second explosion. I knew Kate would find the diary, and she did. "Jake," she called as he got home from work, "we need to talk." "About what?" "About what you really think of me." I heard her open the diary and start reading aloud. "Not sure I'm ready for another serious relationship so soon. Kate's sweet, but she's just as demanding as Linda. Maybe I should have some fun before tying myself down again." "Where did you get that?" Jake's voice was full of shock. "I found it in your drawer. Jake, this is your diary, your handwriting." "That's not my diary. I've never kept a diary." "Don't lie to me. I know your handwriting. I've seen you write." "Kate, I swear I didn't write that. I don't even know where it came from." "Then how did it end up in your drawer, written in your handwriting?" "I don't know. But I didn't write it." More tears, more accusations, more doubt. The final blow came Saturday morning. I knew Jake and Kate planned a romantic morning in bed. I'd overheard them talking about it. That's when I timed the dating app notification to appear. "Jake," Kate's voice was icy. Explain this. Explain what? A Tinder notification. You have a new message from Ashley. She can't wait to meet you tonight. What? That's impossible. I don't use Tinder. Jake, it came up on your phone right now. Show me. I heard them fumbling with the phone. Then a long pause. I don't understand, Jake said. I didn't make this profile. I don't even remember the last time I used that app. But it's your pictures, your name, and it says you're looking for something casual, no strings attached. Kate, I didn't make this profile. Someone's using my photos. Who? Who would make a fake profile with your pictures? And why? Good question. One Jake couldn't answer. Maybe it's a glitch. Maybe my old profile got reactivated somehow? Jake, when was the last time you used dating apps? I don't remember. Maybe a few months ago? A few months ago, but we were together a few months ago. Were you using dating apps while you were with Linda? And that's where Jake made his fatal mistake. Instead of coming up with a plausible explanation, he got defensive. It's not what you think, he said. Sometimes guys just browse. It doesn't mean I was going to meet anyone. You were cheating on Linda before you even started with me? No, I never cheated on Linda. I just checked the app sometimes. Not to meet anyone, just out of curiosity. Curiosity? Jake, people don't browse dating apps out of curiosity. They browse to hook up. Kate, it's not what you think. Then what is it? Explain why you have an active dating profile. Explain why some girl is messaging you about meeting tonight. I don't know. I don't know who Ashley is. I never set up a meeting with her. But you know you have a profile on the app. Yeah, but I don't use it. I forgot it was even there. You forgot? You forgot you had a dating app profile? While you were with Linda? While you're with me? Game over. I could tell by the shift in Kate's voice. Suspicion had turned to certainty. Doubt had become accusation. Over the next few hours, I heard their relationship fall apart. Each tried to explain the strange events of the past few days, but their explanations only made things worse. Jake accused Kate of still being in love with Marcus. Kate accused Jake of using her as a temporary fling. Both felt betrayed. Both suspected the other of dishonesty. By Saturday evening, Jake packed his things and left. I need time to think, he said as he walked out. This is all too weird. Too many coincidences. Coincidences? Kate shouted after him. You call this coincidences? You've been lying to me from the start. What about you? What about that letter from Marcus? What about you not telling me you're still in touch with him? I'm not in touch with him. Then explain how he knows about us. The door slammed. Kate was alone. I heard her crying in her room late into the night. Not quiet tears of disappointment, sobs of despair. The sound of someone who realized they'd lost everything. The next morning, I stepped out of my room with my last box of belongings. Kate was sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, her eyes red and swollen. She looked up at me and I saw something I didn't expect. Suspicion. Linda, she said slowly, can I ask you something? Sure, I replied, keeping my tone neutral. All these weird things. The letter from Marcus, Jake's diary, the dating app profile. Don't you think it's too much of a coincidence? I set my box on the table and looked at her with genuine surprise. What are you talking about? I study psychology, Linda. I know what people are capable of when they feel betrayed, especially smart, creative people. People who work in marketing and know how to manipulate emotions. My heart skipped a beat, but I didn't show it. Kate, are you accusing me of orchestrating your breakup with Jake? Seriously, did you? I looked at her carefully. In her eyes, I saw not just suspicion, but fear. Fear that she might be right. Fear that she'd been outplayed by a sharper mind. Kate, I said softly, I get that you're hurting, but what you're doing right now is called projection. You're trying to find someone to blame for your relationship with Jake falling apart. The truth is, it fell apart because it was built on lies and betrayal. That's not an answer. Fine, I sighed. No, Kate, I didn't orchestrate your breakup. I've been too busy picking up the pieces of my own life to plot revenge. That was the truth. Technically, I didn't orchestrate their breakup. I just created the conditions for their relationship to destroy itself. Kate stared at me for a few more seconds, then nodded. Sorry, she said. You're right, I can't believe it ended like this. You know what, Kate? I picked up my box and headed for the door. Maybe it's for the best. Maybe you both realized you weren't right for each other. But I loved him, she whispered. Loved him? Or loved the idea of taking him from me? She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's cruel. No, I said, turning to her one last time. Cruel was what you did behind my back. Cruel was hearing you laugh at my feelings. Cruel was finding out the two people I trusted most betrayed me. I opened the door but paused. You know what's funny? You two could have been happy together. You were a good match. Both selfish, both capable of betrayal, both only thinking of yourselves. But you destroyed your relationship because you couldn't trust each other. And you know why? Because you knew what you were capable of. You knew if you could betray one person, you could betray another. With that, I walked out of the apartment for good. Over the next few months, I watched the aftermath from afar. Social media is a wonderful thing. It lets you keep tabs on people without direct contact. Jake and Kate tried to reconcile twice. Each time their relationship fell apart faster. The distrust I'd planted took root and grew like a weed. Every innocent action was seen as suspicious. Every late night at work became grounds for accusation. Every phone notification was scrutinized as evidence of cheating. Kate had to move out of our old apartment. She couldn't afford it alone. She moved back to her parents' place in Ohio, dropping out of grad school. Her social media was filled with gloomy quotes about betrayal and broken hearts. Jake wasn't thriving either. He went through girlfriends every few weeks, unable to trust anyone. His friends started avoiding him, tired of his constant complaints and paranoia. He lost his job after a conflict with a coworker he accused of sabotaging him. A's. For me, I was thriving. My new apartment was small but cozy. I got a promotion at work, taking on a project that demanded all my focus and energy. I started going to the gym, learning new languages, and reconnecting with friends I'd neglected while with Jake. Most importantly, I met David. David was an architect I met at a coffee shop near my new apartment. He was the opposite of Jake, open, honest, capable of genuine empathy. He listened when I spoke. He remembered small details. He never made me feel clingy or demanding. 6 months after my breakup with Jake, I realized I hadn't been in love with him. I'd been in love with the idea of stability, the concept of a relationship, a future that existed only in my head. Real love, as I learned with David, was different, easy, natural, built on mutual respect and admiration. A year later, I got a message from Kate. She'd found my new number through mutual friends. Linda, I know it's been a long time, but I can't stop thinking about the day you moved out. You were right about Jake and me not being right for each other, but I still can't figure out how it all fell apart so fast. Sometimes I think someone deliberately sabotaged our relationship. I'm not accusing you. I just want the truth. Can we meet? I stared at that message for days before responding. Kate, I understand you're looking for answers, but some things are better left in the past. You learned a lesson about the consequences of betrayal. Jake learned a lesson about the consequences of dishonesty. Maybe that's all you need to know. I wish you well. I never told her what I did. Not because I was ashamed. I wasn't. I was proud of turning my pain into action, my humiliation into justice. I didn't confess because the lesson would have been lost if they knew they'd been manipulated. Better to let them think their relationship fell apart because of their own flaws. Better to let them live with the understanding that distrust and betrayal lead to ruin. Better to let them remember that actions have consequences. 2 years later, David proposed. We got married last spring in a small ceremony with our families and closest friends. It was exactly what I dreamed of. Simple, sincere, full of love. On my wedding day, as I stood in front of the mirror in my dress, I thought back to that evening I found Jake with Kate. I remembered the pain, the humiliation, the betrayal, but those memories no longer hurt. They reminded me of how far I'd come, how much I'd learned about myself, and that I deserved better. I never regretted what I did. Some call it revenge. I prefer to think of it as justice. Jake and Kate destroyed my life, building their happiness on the wreckage of my trust. I just showed them that structures built on lies can't stand, Dot. They got what they deserved, each other and the consequences of their actions. I got what I deserved, a second chance at real love, and the realization that I'm stronger than I ever knew. Dot, sometimes at night when David's asleep beside me, I smile, thinking of the gift I gave Jake and Kate, a gift they'll never forget. A lesson that betrayal comes at a cost, and that cost can be more than they're willing to pay. Dot, it was the best revenge possible, letting them destroy themselves with their own weaknesses. I didn't harm them physically. I didn't ruin their reputations. I just gave them the chance to show their true selves, Dot, and they took that chance in the full. Dot, justice prevailed. Love won. And me? I'm finally truly happy.